Hi everyone, my name's Alan Wong and I'm a Public Information Officer for Contra Costa County. Welcome to a forum of the three candidates running for Concord District 1 City Council. District 1 is bordered by Bailey Road to the east, Farm Bureau Road and Willow Pass Road to the west, unincorporated areas to the north, and the area just above Turtle Creek Road to the south. Today's forum is sponsored by the Contra Costa County Elections Division, Contra Costa Television, and the West County and Diablo Valley League of Women Voters. We're recording these roundtable discussions here in the studios of Contra Costa Television with assistance from the cities of Concord, Richmond, and Walnut Creek. The candidates are Robert Ring, Laura Hoffmeister, and Quinn Anderson. Earlier, we drew lots before the show to determine the speaking order, so we'll begin with Robert Ring.
Hi, my name is Robert Ring. I'm a mortgage advisor here in Concord. I've been in business for nearly a decade. I've served on the board of several local nonprofits, including, at the time, the only nonprofit that housed victims of human trafficking. I've been an elected member of Contra Costa Real Estate in Motion as a treasurer, and I've served on a committee for Contra Costa Association of Real Estate, where we raised nearly $250,000 over the course of 4 years that was donated to local charities, including the Contra County Association of Realtor Scholarship Fund that went to kids that were going to college locally here. The reason that I'm running for City Council in Concord is I believe we need new leadership. There are issues that are going to face me and my family for generations that I believe we need seriously addressed. We're going to talk about some of those things today. But I thought the best way to get involved and serve my community would be to run for this position so I can do a better job and bring progress that is much needed to Concord.
Laura Hoffmeister.
Hi, I'm Laura Hoffmeister. I'm currently council member in District 1. I've been honored to be able to serve you and also been selected to serve as mayor in the past for the city of Concord. I want to continue to do the hard work that I've been doing as a dedicated leadership and experienced leadership in the City Council. I've served as your mayor. I've also been on the board for the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, which brings jobs into our community, John Muir Health Care Benefit Fund, and a board member of County Connection, our public bus system. I also have served as chair of the local reuse authority and been involved in the Mount Diablo Unified School District Facilities Task Force program. I'm very glad to be able to participate in this forum. I look forward to engaging with the two candidates here. However, there's more work that still needs to be done in Concord, even though I've been serving on the City Council. We need to continue to expand our public safety, increase neighborhood patrols, and work diligently on street maintenance and pothole repair, improve our neighborhood preservation, and again, continue with affordable housing issues and the unhoused and unsheltered issues. So I'm very honored to be able to be considered by you, and hopefully you would select me to be on the Concord City Council continuing forward. Thank you.
Quinn Anderson.
Hi, I'm Quinn Anderson. In my professional career, I run customer success and experience for a biotechnology company in South San Francisco. My professional role is really centered around customer advocacy, and I work with leadership at the companies I've worked with to push for improvements that will benefit the customers that we serve. And I think that professional experience will translate very well into constituent advocacy. As a resident of Concord, coming up on 6 years, I know I haven't been in Concord as long as some of the others here. I'd like to see change enacted a little more aggressively, and so I thought the best way to participate in that is to become a city council member. So I would like the opportunity to step in and bring a little bit of change to the city council as it is. I want to be a representative for the people rather than a politician. Thank you.
Thank you, Quinn. Let's talk about public safety. Crime's an issue. These days, being a police officer isn't exactly the most desired occupation. In Concord, the police department has about 20 vacancies out of 140. A lot of difficulties in recruitment and retainment. Robert, what's the solution?
Sure, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. In my opinion, public safety should always be a top priority for any city, because if you don't have public safety, you really don't have a city. People don't want to live in a city, and businesses don't want to be in a city where it's not safe. Crime has been on the rise for a while, and as you noted, Alan, the police have a 20% vacancy right now between police out on injury and just staffing problems. I've spoken with police. I'm proud to say I'm the only candidate on this stage that is endorsed by the Concord Police Officers Association and the Deputy District Attorneys Association, so I believe I am the candidate of law and order. The challenge that they are facing are multifaceted, but one that's really interesting is Concord has a federal contract that is unique to Concord. It doesn't affect the surrounding cities, where Concord police officers have to pay into two forms of retirement, one of which is CalPERS, the other is Social Security. Now, we had a chance to get out of this contract years ago. There was an open window to get out of it. We did not, and now it's permanent. And so not only, one of the other challenges is we don't pay as much as some of the surrounding cities. And it's a little bit more dangerous to be a police officer here in Concord than you might imagine it is in Walnut Creek or in San Ramon or in Pleasant Hill. And so, when we're trying to recruit good talent and new police officers and they're looking at, where they're going to go, one of the first challenges they see is, okay, $1,400 a month comes out of my paycheck and goes into Social Security, and they already have state-funded, CalPERS that they also pay into. So immediately we need a Social Security offset, and on the second one down the line, we need to make sure that our police are properly funded. We spend a lot of money on our police fund, which is 57% of our city budget at the moment, and the police will tell you that they are not properly funded. And my question is, what's the point of having a city police department if you're not going to fund them properly, pay them adequately, and give them the tools they need to recruit and maintain staffing levels adequate enough to protect the good citizens of Concord and attract more people to our city?
Thank you, Robert. Laura, how do you improve the recruitment and retainment issue?
Thank you. Yes, as a matter of fact, on the City Council, we've been addressing this issue head on, and we're not the only city facing this dilemma. As you mentioned, law enforcement is not one of the desired professions anymore to go into. So it's really a challenge. What we've been able to do, and I've been able to bring to the table, is to adjust pay ranges for our current officers so that they can be more competitive in the marketplace and to address some of the impacts that being in two retirement plans has on their take-home pay. We've also included a new hiring bonus plan, and that has been put out there to be something that we can attract officers into our community. We do need to also look at, we'll be coming up with labor negotiations shortly with our law enforcement officers, and we need to sit down to the table and look at where are the wages in the region, in the area, and make sure that we are competitive in both salary and benefits in that. I'm really happy that most of our officers stay with us and retire with us. We need to continue to work and make sure that we have that as we go forward in the future. Some of the things we've also been doing to address our officer shortage is to try to bring in more technology to make more efficiencies in the police department, and that's something that we need to do anyway. Regardless, we need to still bring our force back up to standards. Our police budget is the biggest piece of our city operations, and it should be, because that department runs 24/7, 365 days a year. And we need to make sure that they are properly funded, have proper training, and also have the equipment and the tools to be able to serve our community. And that includes things such as technology. We have the body cameras. We've just put in license plate readers, a program that we're instituting citywide to help with crime issues, so that if people commit a crime in our community, we have a description of a car. We can then go to the license plate readers, get that car description, and find where that car is registered to or who the ownership is, and try to reduce some of the crime issues that are happening from people actually and cars coming from outside of our community in. So we want to try to address that. Some of our other communities have just started that, and so we're putting that into place as well. So again, we have to be competitive in our offerings in terms of our pay and benefits, and at the same time, though, we don't have an unlimited budget. We need roads and we need parks and recreation, so there's a strain in terms of how much can you provide to the police without adversely impacting other needed services in our community. So that's going to be the challenge going forward, is to find the funds that we can within the budget and have a balanced budget with proper reserves and still maintain other services in our community.
Quinn Anderson, how do you improve recruitment and retainment in the police department?
Yeah, I think the problems that these two touched on are real. It's not a popular profession anymore, and I think one of the things that is missing from the conversation is that we should probably work to address the root cause of that. Like, why is it unpopular to be, why do people not want to be police officers anymore? And it's because there's been more recent scrutiny of the system as a whole, not just in Concord, but statewide, nationwide. And I think one of the things that again, not specific to Concord, but we could become leaders in this, that we're not doing is addressing those root causes. So I think looking at the budget and figuring out how we can best reallocate some of these funds to make sure that police have the training they need to address some of the problems that they're being asked to address as emergency services people, maybe supplementing those services with staff members that are trained to address different kinds of issues. So some of the emergency service calls are for issues that are not criminal in nature, and police officers generally aren't given the strongest training in handling those kinds of things. You know, you don't often have to pull a gun, and so when you're in a situation where it is dangerous, you know, they don't have that. They don't have the right reflexes built up over time to handle a firearm, for instance, in an emergency situation. And some situations don't call for that. Some situations are more like, I need to de-escalate the situation, and maybe we need enhanced training for that. Or maybe we have to have supplementary services, like I said, where people who are maybe more mental health professionals. So just looking at some of the investments we're making into the police force and making sure that they're well equipped to do all aspects of the job we're asking them to do. I do agree with them that pay is huge. You know, it is a very difficult job, and making sure that people are compensated accurately and adequately for that job is also very important.
Okay, thank you. You know, homelessness is part of the reason for this rise in crime amongst many other factors. Laura Hoffmeister, what's the solution for the homeless problem that's happening all over the country?
Well, there's no one easy magic answer. I think all the cities have realized that there's different options and been tried in a variety of communities, and we've looked out there and researched those. I think one of the things, getting to Quinn's comment, was, you know, police departments don't need to respond to mental health calls. So I'm very proud that in Concord we have a core community outreach resource evaluation team that is the call that team will go out to those types of mental service calls. So we don't need to have the police responding to a 911 call that deals with homeless and unsheltered issues. We do have another resource to use, and we have fully funded in our budget a team dedicated just to Concord. We used to share a team with a couple of our surrounding communities. The need was great in Concord that we felt there was an important resource to put funds forward to allow our police to go into and deal with unsheltered issues. They are there to help assist if needed for safety, but otherwise we do have mental health teams that can go out and assist. We've also put together a mental health evaluation team, and we've also recently hired a community service manager that will oversee homeless and unsheltered needs and put together a strategic plan, and has already started making inroads to addressing some of the issues that we're seeing with homelessness and trying to create housing first, you know, trying to get housing. We do have funds that is targeted, so when Home Corps goes out, that we have options for shelter. Again, not as much as we'd like to have, and that's one of the things we are going to be addressing in our funds that we have from the federal government. I serve on the committee, and we'll be putting forward millions of dollars to be able to go out and address unsheltered needs, and some of the solutions may be looking at not only housing, but also wraparound services. We know that both of those things are needed in order to be successful, as we've seen. I think our police department is very well trained. I think if anything, we have a great group that de-escalates situations. You don't hear in Concord about police departments, you know, using a gun in an inappropriate situation. So I'm really proud of the men and women that serve in our police force. We have excellent training. They have great resources. They also have training in understanding mental health issues and knowing when to address that with other resources that we have in the community. So continuing to build upon that is what I will be bringing to the table as we move forward in the next year.
Great, thank you. Quinn Anderson, what is the solution, in your opinion, for the rising homeless situation in Concord?
Yeah, like Laura said, there isn't if anyone actually knew the solution for homelessness, then we would have it solved, right? People, this is not a local issue. This is globally, we see this as a problem. So unfortunately, I don't have the answer, but I think we do need to make a better investment in it. And again, looking at some of the root causes rather than just treating the symptoms. I do, of course, think that, nobody should have to live on the street. Getting people into places where they are safe, meeting the base level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think we, have a responsibility as a society to help uplift, our fellow citizens and residents. So I think making sure that we actually have places for the unhomed to sleep, to live. 25% of the homeless population actually carry full-time jobs in Concord, and making sure that they have a place to take care of themselves. You can see the effect that would have on people having that stability, and it would allow them to get back on their feet. Mental health services, of course, are part of it, but people are unhomed for a whole variety of reasons. Some of them are that there's not stable housing enforcement for them. So some people might move to Concord and rent because they maybe can't afford to own a single-family home, at market rate. But without adequate protections, they might not be able to afford rent hikes, for instance, that happen, and then they lose their housing. So it's not always mental health issues or anything like that. But looking at some of those, but making sure we get people somewhere safe to be, where there's sanitation, and where they can then have a base to work from, and access other services, food, programs and things like that.
Robert Ring, how would you deal with the homeless situation in Concord?
Yeah, it's a complex question, one that I put a lot of thought and energy into. The homeless, so let me start here. The homeless situation, homeless people face, in large part, this is not everybody, but one or more of the three following issues: severe mental health issues, substance abuse, and alcohol addiction, right? Unfortunately, I'm intimately familiar with this because I lost a family member who was on the streets for over 2 years. He was addicted to drugs. He was living on the streets. And I can tell you that he did not need a place to park his tent. He did not need someone to help him oversee putting heroin into his arm. He needed somebody to help him get him off drugs and address severe mental health issues that he faced, like bipolar disorder. And so when people come in and they say, hey, I have the solution, here's a drug administration site, or hey, I have a solution, let's set up a homeless encampment, I think it's cruel and inhumane. I think homeless is a bit of a misnomer, not for everybody, but most of the people on the street don't just have an eviction problem. There's more to it than that. Now, we live in a first world country. Nobody should be living on the street because they cannot afford it, right? So for those that are just down on their luck, we need to work on these services like Laura has talked about. And Laura has done good work on this. I'll have to say, I give credit where credit's due. CORE does help people get back on their feet. It does help put them into affordable housing. I helped connect someone with CORE last week, a single mother who recently became sober, has a 14-year-old daughter, living out of her car and holding down a full-time job since January. That's a great example of what CORE can do to help people get back into housing. But one thing that Michael over at CORE told me is a challenge, that when they go meet with homeless people, they have to tell Michael, I want you to help me get off of drugs. I want you to help with my severe mental health issues. And unfortunately, a lot of people are used to getting pushed through the system. A lot of people, when they're addicted to these really hardcore drugs, I don't believe can make decisions for themselves well enough to say, yes, I need to get off of those drugs. Good for them if they can, but these drugs take over their life. If you go to San Francisco, you'll see people shouting, naked, and defecating in the street. And then you say, okay, well, we're going to wait for them to tell us to help them. I just think it's a little bit of the wrong approach. Now, I don't claim to sit here and have the solution for this single-handedly, but I'd like to be part of the solution, and I'd like to continue to work with state and local officials, and I don't think that the onus is entirely on Concord. We do have shelter in Concord, and the shelter is sober contingent living and extreme weather shelter. And one of the things we have to be careful of from a policy standpoint in Concord is not to become a magnet for homeless. We have almost 500 homeless people in Concord now, and of course we want to help the homeless people. We want to address this issue, but it is not Concord's responsibility by and large as a whole to solve the homeless problem. We need to work with the county. We need resources from the state. there's a lot of people that need to come together to work on this problem and solve it together. And one of the plans that I have is to build a coalition of elected members, city representatives throughout California to address this and go to Sacramento and put pressure on Sacramento to give us the resources we need.
Okay, one last question. I want to give each one of you 1 minute. We're running out of time to talk about the pothole situation in Concord. Let's start with Quinn Anderson on that one.
Oh, well, yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity to improve our road systems. I think the score rating we have right now with CalPERS is 59 of 100. You know, it is important that we take some time and investment into improving the roads. And I think there is an opportunity to do more than just fix potholes. I think we could also work on infrastructure that enables people to take alternative means of transportation, not always a car. We don't have enough protected bike lanes, for instance, and enabling people to live a more sustainable and healthy lifestyle, as well as reduce some of the road traffic, because there are people who would like to do that. It's just not safe to do that. So I think there's multiple ways we can invest in road improvements, infrastructure, and safety.
Thank you, Laura. How do you deal with the road maintenance situation in Concord?
Well, I'm glad that on the City Council we have a 2-year plan to start moving forward on doing more work on our streets and street maintenance. The dilemma has been trying to leverage our city money against funds from state and federal sources, and we've been successful now that we have $120 million that we'll be putting out into the roads in the next year to 2 years. We will be already starting on Treat Boulevard this next year. We've done some work already on Deckinger, I'm proud to say, in District 1. We've done some pothole repair and temporary repair measures on Ayers Road, but going forward in the future, Concord Boulevard's going to be done. We've got sections of Clayton Road that will be done. We've got funding that will be going into Alberta as well as Ayers, as well as some neighborhood street areas as well. So we've got about $120 million that we're putting out there, and I'm proud to be a part of doing that, and we will continue to leverage our local funds against state and federal dollars so we can do as many roads as possible in our community. And Willow Pass is also on that list.
Okay, Robert Ring.
Sure. So she's talking about Measure V, which narrowly passed by about 500 votes, and it was branded to voters as money that would it would be an extension of a previous measure that raised sales tax from 8.5% to 9.25% in the city of Concord, and it would be used for roads, first responders, and law enforcement. And now they're spending it on roads. There's an independent group that analyzes how the money is spent, but we're not really given advance notice of their meetings, so showing up and asking questions is not the easiest thing to do. I'm not criticizing it entirely because I think it's incredibly important, but one question that I have is how did we get our roads to this place to start with? You know, Copilot lists our roads in Concord as the worst roads in the whole state of California for a mid-sized urban area. Copilot lists our roads as 59 out of 100 on the PCI, which is Pavement Conditions Index, which is considered at risk, so it's dangerous to walk, drive, or bike on. And I think that that's not acceptable. You know, Tim Grayson voted for SB 1 years ago, and that was a gas tax. And part of that gas tax that he negotiated, you know, largely because he served on city council here in Concord, and I'm very grateful to have his support and endorsement, is that some of that money was supposed to go into ongoing road maintenance. Where has that been? You know, we don't have inclement weather in Concord. We're not putting salt on our roads. There's no reason that when you drive down residential streets that, you know, like I live on, that there's numerous 2-foot wide potholes that you could pop your tire on or you know, fall over if you don't avoid on a bike. And so I would like to find ways to put more money into maintenance of roads and address some of the address this issue a little more quickly.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks to our candidates for answering some of these important questions. Each candidate will now have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. We'll start with Quinn Anderson.
Yeah, so I don't have the years of experience in politics that the incumbent has. And she has done a lot of great things for Concord and the residents who live here. You may have noticed one of the trends of this discussion today, though, is we have a plan, we have a plan, we have a plan. So there's a lot of stuff that has not yet been done, and I feel like there has been a missed opportunity to address some of the issues that we've been talking about today with a little more alacrity. And so one of the things that I think one of the benefits of having me on the city council instead is that I'm not part of the establishment. I don't have ties to any particular organization. I don't owe anybody anything, and all I really want to do is represent the people of Concord and what they want and push harder to make progress on those issues a little more quickly.
Laura Hoffmeister.
Yes, thank you. Well, I've been a lifelong resident of Concord, and yes, we do make plans. And in order to have the plans, those plans are needed in order to leverage other funding in order to maximize the amount of money we can put back in our community. I'm honored that I've been able to serve as your council member in doing that. We're at a lull right now where during COVID, we've had plans put together. Now we're going to be delivering those out on the streets. And I'm glad that I've been able to do that hard work to bring that forward to you. I've established balanced budgets with rainy day reserves, expanded our homeless outreach and our mental health teams. I've supported new crime prevention efforts and to keep our neighborhoods safe. And again, approved $120 million going back into our streets, and some of that work is starting right now. We've created economic development strategies to attract and retain businesses in our community and see them thrive, and also new housing is being built in our downtown community and near public transit. But more work needs to be done, which is why I'm running for re-election, is to enhance our public safety even more, to increase our street maintenance even more, and to further improve our neighborhood preservation and to address our unsheltered needs in our community. I have worked to enhance senior and youth programs and will continue to do so, and also to address affordable housing, which is very critical in order to ensure that we don't have more unsheltered people coming into our streets. We have affordable housing projects that are going on in Concord. The lots you see downtown that have fences around them, we have over 1,200 units approved that will be starting construction, but during COVID, there's been delays in getting some of those off the ground. You see some starting now, and I'm glad to see others will be going forward in the next year or so. Again, I've also been involved in the public transportation safety issues by establishing the community's first pedestrian and bicycle advisory safety committee. I ask again for your support and your vote come this November. Thank you.
Robert Ring.
Yes, so look, I'm not here to bash anybody, and I signed a clean campaign pledge, but I would not be here if I thought we could be doing a better job in the city of Concord. My opponent will tell you that I might not have the experience that she does in city government, but I have worked on many committees in our community, and I've worked with a lot of people to get things done, and I've been in business for about a decade now. And I can tell you that there are issues that people want addressed. And your government should be accessible. When you have issues that concern you as a resident in Concord, whether they be homeless, whether they be crime, on your very street, whether it's potholes on your road, or whether it's the much-needed Concord Naval Weapons Station development that's continually delayed, which I will get off the ground, you should be able to pick up the phone and call somebody. And so I'm going to give you my cell phone number, 925-322-1597. You can call me anytime to discuss any of these issues. I'm grateful to have the endorsement of our Assembly member, Tim Grayson. I'm grateful to have the endorsement of the Concord Police Officers Association. I'm grateful to have the endorsement of the Contra Costa County Building and Trades Council, as well as the Deputy District Attorneys Association. There's a reason these people support me, and I can tell you that if elected, I will represent you well at the City of Concord. I will address these issues head on. I will listen to you as constituents in my district, and we will make progress, and we'll make a better Concord, and we'll address these issues, and we'll see progress in the future. Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our forum of 3 candidates running for Concord District 1 City Council, who once again are Robert Ring, Laura Hoffmeister, and Quinn Anderson. For more information in depth on the candidates, ballot measures, and who supports them, go to votersedge.org. The last day to register is October 24th. All eligible registered Contra Costa voters will receive a vote-by-mail ballot for the November 8th general election, and you can find detailed information on the upcoming election on the Contra Costa County Elections website, cocovote.us. I'm Alan Wong. I'm a Public Information Officer for Contra Costa County, and I want to thank you for watching, and don't forget to vote on November 8th.